And good morning and welcome to the Radical Vision for Disabilities show. I'm your host, Brian Wagner. We've got some great guests coming on today. They are guests that are coming to us from the Kemper House of Worthington, and it's Kemper House Central Ohio now, but love the work that they do there with memory care. So Greg Ossini, you've heard before, but he has a special guest coming on with him today, and we're going to let her introduce herself, but a lot of good work that's being done there for memory care, and I'm just so appreciative of them being on today. They're going to be phenomenal, and I invite you as listeners out there, if you have questions, please put them in the comment box, and we will get to them as soon as we possibly can. But without any further ado, I want to bring on our guests today, and they are hanging out in the green room, and they are Greg Ossini. Hello, Greg.
Hello. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. And our other guest is Kaylee Glenn.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Good morning, Kaylee. So, Kaylee,
how are you doing today?
I'm good. We know a lot about Greg, but tell us a little bit about you and how you got into memory care.
Sure. So I'm the founder of a group called the Dementia Project. And I mean, getting into memory care is a long journey for me. It started at 10 years old. And so, yeah, at 10, I played violin. I played violin since I was 4. So I played at a memory care facility that my mom worked at. And I remember going into that memory care facility, playing my Suzuki pieces, and a woman in front of me started to vocalize. And I wasn't really sure what that meant, but I continued to play. And afterwards, a nurse came up to me and explained that she had been non-vocal for months, and this was the first time that they've heard her speak, and that she was a former opera singer trying to sing along. And that feeling that I had on that day is, I think, the feeling that I get every single time we volunteer through music therapy and we get involved, and something that I hope to carry on for the rest of my life. It's definitely my passion. So when I came to high school, which was years ago, I founded the Dementia Project, brought big groups of live music in. We engaged with handheld percussion instruments in order to actively engage with the rhythm of the music, due to the fact that memories are stored in rhythm, and rhythm is a preserved skill throughout dementia. It's a really, really great way to unlock some of those memories and really activate those dying brain cells. So we were super focused on music therapy. We have a big emphasis on education, educating our members, educating other people. And then lastly, we focus a lot on memories. Obviously, dementia is a heartbreaking disease. It's a whole family disease. It's something that is never easy. There's no right answer to it. But one thing that we kind of try to implement in our volunteers and in our mindset is that something that makes it a little easier, which is at the end of life, which is so hard. Like, this is the most heartbreaking part, is that these amazing men and women can't remember those that they love the most. That's what I think is awful. And so that's what made it really challenging for us to keep going with the group. Like, I almost reached a point where I just had so much doubt, so much frustration that we couldn't do it anymore. But that didn't happen. I kind of adopted this mindset that maybe the point of life isn't to like grow up and remember it all in the end. Maybe it's not to be like old in a nursing home and looking back on your whole life and remembering your kid's first soccer game and all of these amazing things that you very well should remember. But instead, it's to live for others so that they can remember you. And by living for others, your memories will live on through them. So that kind of made things a little easier. And so what we started to do to actively combat that is document the life stories of those that have dementia. And that way, for as long as they forget, we will always remember them. So we started that in high school, and then I founded it here at OSU again. So the legacy is living on through the same high school that I went to, and now at another university. And so we're hoping to just kind of grow this mission and make it something much bigger.
Wow, that's incredible.
If you want to hear Thank you so much.
If you want to hear more, stay right there. Wow. Greg, how did you come across Haley? Sorry.
You know, it was interesting. I was sitting at my desk one day and I get a ping on my email from Kaylee, and she said, "Hey, I've heard that you guys are into, it's called Music in Memory, and it's a program that is offered nationwide, and it's nothing like Kaylee's, but similar. And she's like, this is totally what we do and want to grow. And because Kemper House is so interested in a music platform, from live performances, we have Sonos speakers throughout our building that are constantly playing music, not only for our residents, but our caregivers. So we play a little bit different music down the hallways than we will in our resident space, because we want our care team sort of jazzing around, upbeat, and music just plays such an important role to all of our lives. I don't know anybody that doesn't connect with music, and it literally, they've discovered that out of anything you do, music lights up more parts of your brain than almost anything, and there's real magic to it. And so we set up for some reason I was inspired, and I usually probably just push that email aside, but for some reason it related to music. So I was like, you know what, let's set up a Zoom call. And was it during COVID?
It was during COVID.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so we were trying to find ways to keep our residents active. And so Chelsea, who's our program director and responsible for life enrichment, and I jumped on a call with Kaylee, and we just hit it off. And we're like, okay, now we're in COVID, and when can you come into the building and start this thing? So we staved it off for a little while. And then eventually we actually vaccinated 20 OSU students. And that's what allowed them to get into our building. Man, this is like just all coming back to me.
It was like the first week vaccines were available, and it was so cutting edge that we were like, it was a huge responsibility for us. I made sure that we brought our strongest volunteers in and if you're getting vaccinated, you will come every week. There's no exceptions. And they did, and they loved it. And it was a huge honor and such amazing thing that you allowed us to do.
I'm sorry. You said what kind of volunteers?
Our strongest volunteers. Like, we wanted to make sure that those that got vaccinated were our most consistent, our most interactive kind of people. So that I think it was very important, through dementia was so affected by COVID, because isolation, one of the main therapeutic things is interaction. And, you just can't have that with COVID. So if we were going to be able to go in there, I wanted to make sure we did it the right way.
Awesome. So when you go into Kemper House, what do?
Yeah, so obviously COVID was a huge factor in this partnership. And what we had done in the past before COVID was we bring in big groups of live music. We brought in the Men's Glee Club from OSU, Cello Ohio, these big groups. And then our volunteers focus on the interactive side of things, shaking maracas with the residents to get engaged with rhythm, getting over that hump of engagement. But with COVID, everything was different. So I remember after we figured out the vaccines, I was sitting in my room. I was just like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to bring this live music? How are we going to make sure we do what we do? And just one thing just kept popping in my head, and it was my senior prom when we had a silent disco, and we had one at after prom. And so a silent disco is where there's one transmitter and as many headphones as you want. And everyone that is wearing the headphones is listening to the same exact music, but there's no outside distractions or anything else. And then everyone that's not wearing a headphone is hearing absolutely nothing. And that really, I felt like that was where I should go, because there's a lot of research on iPod therapy. So like Greg was saying, the Music and Memories program is an amazing program that implements individual iPods for dementia patients, and you play music that they're familiar with, and you just see them light up. That's the power of music. But what a silent disco does is it has that same factor. So you play familiar music from a generation that they are very familiar with, and so they're still experiencing that experience that you do with the iPod program. But this time, instead of just listening to the music, the people next to them are also having the same phenomena. The people in front of them are also having the same phenomena. So you get this community group aspect, which is so important for dementia. You see them shaking their maracas, so they're actively engaging with the rhythm as well. They're not just sitting back and experiencing it. They're jumping into the music, jumping into the rhythm of the song. They start dancing. They're dancing with us. We're getting involved. We're moving the body to the rhythm of music. So as much piece of yourself is getting engaged with the rhythm of music, that's where the therapy happens. And what we saw was just the silent disco checked off all the boxes. It was, I mean, it's truly amazing. And we heard that 2-3 days after that therapeutic process was still going on, people were still benefiting from it, and it changed the entire dynamic of care facilities. So that's what we started to do. And I think that COVID was a horribly awful thing, but it did kind of bring this gem out of our group that I'm really, really proud of.
Mm-hmm. And so you started this in high school, right?
Yes.
What kind of a high school has a program that allows you to do that?
My high school was very, very centered on service. It was extremely service oriented. We had a program called SOS, which is student organized service. So it wasn't abnormal for kids to have their own service groups. I think there were over 50 groups at my school. And I think the difference was with ours was that we just continued it. Like, I think one that stood out to me was a program that went to urban schools. So I was super involved with that program. We'd go and have like latchkey for kids before their parents could pick them up, and really just jump into, I think, some of the problems in the world. So I was so lucky to be a part of that.
Yeah. So what high school was this?
It's Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm.
Huh. Awesome. Very cool. I love hearing that. That's impressive.
It definitely is. And like I said, I was so blessed to be a part of that school. I don't think I would be where I am now without having those mentors and these amazing people build up my passion. And I mean, specifically Karen Hordinsky, she's the director of the SOS program. And I interned with her over last summer because I was just like, I want to jump into the service. I want to learn what you're doing. This has inspired me so much. It's changed my entire life. And we ended up setting up, because of COVID, so like homeless people go to the homeless shelters to get food in Cincinnati, specifically Walnut Hills. And a lot of that food is sourced from the gardens of Walnut Hills, which are community based. But during COVID, they weren't getting workforce to go and like build up those gardens. So over the summer, I worked with Karen Hordinsky, and we brought a workforce there to really renovate those gardens. We donated a lot of money. Like, we were able to be that source in a time where there was nothing else. So I've got really close to her, and I'm so, so thankful for everything she's done in my life.
Wow, that's awesome.
Kaylee's a whopping 20 years old.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Come on, Brian, 20.
So we have a couple of comments coming in. I want to make sure we recognize some people that are on today. Eric Bam is on, and he loves to hear you talk fast about. You can definitely tell you love what you do. So that's cool. And then our friend Wes Wyatt is on as well, and he has an experience with his father-in-law, and he brought in a recording of him playing, and it made a difference for him as well. So that's sounds very similar to what you were saying.
Oh, absolutely. And I just think music specifically is such a tool and a resource that is accessible. If you do it the right way, if you stick on some headphones, if you play the right songs, get engaged with you could have a pencil, tapping on a pencil. There's so many ways to create this amazing experience that I think everyone should know about.
Yeah. So how do we help people know about it?
Right. I think it's just spreading the word. The awesome thing is, as soon as we saw that the silent disco was so helpful and was creating this ripple, we wanted to create a new initiative. So we have our organization, our club at Ohio State, and then right now we're kickstarting our new silent disco initiative, where we want to be able to partner with one of our our partner in the silent disco industry who gave us, and we bought our material from. We want to partner with them in order to kind of create like a Dementia project package, and then go and teach different care facilities how to have a silent disco, train their staff on, the best ways to do this so that it is accessible for them and they have that resource, that tool whenever they need it. And then also give them the information to purchase their own silent disco equipment. And on the financial aspect, it is really amazing. I mean, Greg, we talked about it the other day, and it just compared to some other care practices, it's totally affordable and accessible. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, our good friend Jim Henry is on. He says he's challenged and blessed by this conversation. So he appreciates what you're saying. So, Kaylee, I mean, I have kids that are close to your age as well. And I don't remember there ever being a memory care major. So what do you major?
So I am a neuroscience major.
Ah.
And yes, I think I initially was actually a psychology major, and I was kind of in between. I was like, I want to learn everything I can, and I loved the idea of clinical psychology, but I was just felt like I was missing the why from that. Like I knew what happened, and I knew when it happened, but I was like, why does it happen? So I became a neuroscience major, and everything else just kind of came into place. It's super interesting, and it's an amazing program at Ohio State, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. So what next then for you? You graduate with your bachelor's in neuroscience, and then where do you go from there?
Right. So I think the best thing to do, especially after COVID, is this lesson. And it's like you want to have a direction, but not necessarily a sort out plan, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know where life's going to take you. I am planning on going to medical school. But right now, a gap year seems like something I'd be really interested in, specifically working on the memory care side of things. I'm very passionate about it, and I just don't think I'm ready to quite take a hiatus yet. Like I want to do everything I can before I further my education. And specifically, the Silent Disco initiative is something that I truly and feel so passionate that should be implemented across the nation. I think every memory care facility should have access to the resources that can create this experience. I mean, I remember one time we went to the Kemper House and it was a bad day. Dementia patients have bad days. And I walked in and I was trying to do some interviews to talk to some patients, and so quickly I was like, this is not the day to do this. But I was like, I have my equipment in my car. Let me go get it. Let me make this better. People were having a lot of anxiety, but I put the headphones on, I think 30 people. It was just me and our volunteer coordinator, Anish. And immediately, crisis averted. Everyone was calm. People were dancing. We were playing like calmer music, Elvis Presley, that kind of stuff. And I remember Carol was just laying back and she was like, and before she was crying because she was so anxious. And it was just, I just think if on so many different accounts, this equipment can help like immensely.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
Brian, we have a foundation, Kenny Family Foundation, and it was funny because Kaylee and I were talking about buying the equipment, because originally the Silent Disco company had donated and they said, oh, we can't do that any longer, and so we were going to be without equipment. And so I'm not kidding, we talked on a Wednesday, and then Friday a family reached out to me. She needed $3,500, and a family reached out to me the next day and said, hey, we're interested in donating to your foundation. What can you use? And I said, oh, well, here we go. And I pitched it, and I said, you don't have to donate the whole thing. And they're like, gladly, and literally showed up on Friday with a $3,500 check. And we were able to buy our equipment, and it
was amazing.
Put money towards that. It's special and it's meaningful. And what Kaylee's doing, in fact, she's in the process of writing a book. So
really?
Yeah. So she's awesome. Before age 21, she'll be an author. So
whoa, that is cool. So what's the book on? Obviously memory care, but the disco, silent disco, and all that.
Yeah, so right now, I think we're kind of just condensed like all of this information that I feel, I'm a big talker, so I can talk for hours. And so I think now we're just trying to be like, okay, how much we want to include. But I definitely think it's important to note that I am not a doctor yet. I'm not going to teach you the right diet for dementia care. I'm probably not going to be able to tell you the do's and don'ts and how to make your mom stop wandering. That's not me. But I think I do have a perspective on how to change how you view the dementia diagnosis, how to go about it a different way. I think when your loved one is diagnosed with dementia, you don't get a little like, okay, take 3 months and prepare, like mentally prepare for this. You don't get that time. You jump right into it, and you jump right into something that is really awful and really tragic and really heartbreaking. And I think, it's important to maybe have a book that can help you mentally be in the right headspace to go through that, to look at like the joys of life, to take things day by day. And I think that's what I'm going to try and emphasize on. And hopefully by doing that, I can intertwine some of these amazing stories of the people that we've worked with at the Kemper House and other memory care facilities, and hopefully kind of share those lessons through their stories that I've learned by getting to know them. So that's where we're hoping to go with it.
That's cool. And I'll put up the Kemper House Worthington URL. Is there a Kemper House Central Ohio URL?
No, there's not actually.
Okay.
That's our Facebook, though. If you want to see, you can actually go to our Facebook and see live videos of what Kaylee's and her team are doing. And the first time I was in it, I cried because it was so amazing.
I cry every time.
Yeah, it's emotional.
Wow. It's so special.
So Jim Henry here asked for contact information for that. So for you all, so the URL for Kemper House is one way to get him there. But let's see, what's the Facebook? I want to make sure I do a good job of getting him to the right location for Facebook.
Yeah, and also Kaylee has a website as well for.
Oh,
what is that, Kaylee?
Yeah, so it's Dementia Project, DEMENTIA project.org. And if you go there, you can go to our Get Involved page, and there's a form, and it's like get involved in the Dementia Project, and basically it'll pop up on my side of things as an email, and I'm able to get in touch with nursing homes that are interested or other people as well.
Dementia Project. I'm sorry. Spell it again for me, please.
DEMENTIA just Dementia Project, PROJECT.org.
DementiaProject.org. .org. And let's see. I'll scroll across the bottom.
You know, Brian, I think it's interesting that you have, radical vision for disabilities. And I mention that because Kaylee struggles with chronic pain. And it's an interesting story. You would never guess that in a million years. And I just admire that, she pushes through that, and she doesn't let that, just like your disability, you don't let that get in the way of your success and still being powerful to this world. And so I just wanted to share that you two are kindred spirits in a way, because you both have some physical struggles, but still yet manage through that and better the world, mainly because of it, in a sense. Maybe it's a little driver there.
Yeah,
I think it definitely gives you a little grit. Yeah. But yeah, I was actually hit by a car when I was on my bike when I was 11. Whoa. Yeah, and so I have I really damaged my neck, and it just never healed. So I have fibromyalgia, amplified musculoskeletal pain syndrome, and a pretty severe form. But I think, so that was when I was 11. So going through high school, it wasn't easy to be told I would have chronic pain for the rest of my life. There were definitely times of doubts, times of not wanting to get out of bed in the morning. I think I missed 44 days my sophomore year of high school just because I couldn't function. I was hospitalized for a month to learn how to live with chronic pain. But now it's definitely a driving force. I don't think there's anything that I can't handle. And getting out of bed every day, like being in pain all the time, it's just part of my story now.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but going through that is allowed you to be here, to be doing what you're doing. So, that's it sounds weird, but that's awesome. Really
I completely agree. I don't know if I would change it if I had the choice. I think it's made me into who I am today.
Right, exactly. So I've got this up here for the banner for Facebook. Let's see if I got this right. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, so if Jim has questions about getting more information, he can either go to your website or Kaylee's website, or possibly go to the Facebook location.
That's right. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I'll leave that up there.
You're pretty high tech.
Oh, yeah. If you only knew how low tech I really am.
Yeah, I'm feeling you.
Well, this has been great. I mean, I'm so glad to have you on the show today, Kaylee. I keep saying Haley.
That's okay.
And then so Jim thanks you for your authenticity. So that's
Well,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. Wow. What else can we tell people? I mean, we have we've already gone through almost our entire time. We have about 4 minutes left, 3 or 4 minutes. So what else can we tell people to be able to help them with memory care?
I can mention a few things. So, we're a community that really focuses on people that are dealing with cognitive decline, mainly dementia. But there's a lot of people, we're private pay, and there's a lot of people that can't afford to put their loved ones in a community like ours. So I would just ask family members to look into music programs. Honestly, if you would just spend a little bit of time and invest in a little bit of equipment, you could mimic what we're doing here at Kemper House with a silent disco, getting an iPod with some headphones. It's really magical, the focus, because what happens is you get very laser focused as you get further and further in the disease. And so it's like looking through like these little lenses, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens is all the background visual and audio noise gets in the way. And so by putting these headphones on, full headphones, not the little ear ones, but the full deal, it helps to block all that out and really focus on the music and the rhythm. And you can do that any place. It doesn't matter. So I would recommend families that are family caregivers bringing some type of music platform into their own home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we often work one-on-one with specific people at the Kemper House, so that is totally attainable. And, if you go to our website and type in our form, we might have, I think soon we're going to have a silent disco page where you can have all of our information, everything, and, reach out. And I can definitely help anyone and everyone try and get the materials that work best for them. There are different packages with 5 headphones and a transmitter there. And then, having a maraca, having a pencil to tap on, just, engaging with them, making eye contact, like as long as they feel engaged, everyone, I just think that's where the magic happens. So it's totally attainable for not that expensive.
Awesome. And another listener says hello. So wanted to make sure that we said hello to Linda. Hi, Linda. She's a great person. Good to have her on. Wow. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today. This has been phenomenal. And the whole community here appreciates you and what you do every day. And we want to do more to help you do what that is. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for letting us share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to wave you two off, but you can go back to the green room if you want. Snack on some M&Ms or whatever you want to do, and I'll come there and I'll see you in a second.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Kaylee. I'll get that right. Oh, wow, what a great show. I mean, the things we can do together as a team, not just me, but I mean you and Kaylee and Greg and all this together, we can help solve some of the world's problems. Not all of them, but some of the world's problems. And we really want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to do that. So thank you so much for being on today. If you would, share this video out with as many people as you can think of. That would be phenomenal. Just make this community larger and let more people know what's going on with all this. So, and there's just so many good things that are happening. I'm just in awe and amazement. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on today. And as always, keep one eye on the road.